Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I've got another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. I'll play the video and then at the end of it I'll go back and hit some talking points. Let's go.
Hello, I'm Chief Dave Miner. What you are about to view is a critical incident community briefing. This presentation is intended to provide you with information regarding an officer-involved shooting that occurred in the city of Newport Beach on April 17, 2025, and is intended to help you better understand the circumstances surrounding the incident. In the wake of a critical incident, our goal is to share as much information as possible with the public as early as we can while still respecting the integrity of the ongoing investigation. Officer-involved shootings are subject to intense scrutiny, and we understand that there is significant public concern related to these incidents. As part of our commitment to transparency, we will be sharing relevant video recordings related to this incident. This briefing is based on information currently available to us. It includes details from a variety of sources such as dispatch and video recordings. Please keep in mind that this investigation is still in the early stages and may take up to a year to complete. As more evidence is gathered, reviewed, and analyzed, our understanding of the incident may evolve.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Steve Oberon, Press Information Officer for the Newport Beach Police Department. I will now provide you with a brief overview of the officer-involved shooting that took place on Thursday, April 17th, 2025. At approximately 9:15 p.m., a Newport Beach police officer dressed in full uniform and operating a marked police vehicle was traveling eastbound on West Coast Highway. The officer stopped at a red light in the number 1 lane at the intersection of Superior Avenue and West Coast Highway when he noticed a motorcycle was also stopped at the red light in the number 3 lane. The motorcycle then continued through the intersection, disregarding the red light. The officer initiated a traffic stop and the motorcycle pulled over on West Coast Highway east of Superior Avenue. The motorcycle rider, pictured here, was later identified as Geoffrey Stirling. After the stop, the officer exited his vehicle and approached Mr. Stirling on foot. As he neared, Mr. Stirling got off his motorcycle. The officer issued multiple commands instructing Mr. Stirling to sit down, but he failed to comply. The officer then radioed for backup, and at that moment, Mr. Stirling advanced toward the officer and a physical altercation occurred. During the altercation, Mr. Stirling struck the officer several times in the head and then removed the officer's taser from his duty belt. At one point, Mr. Stirling placed the taser against the back of the officer's head. The officer was able to break free, and as Mr. Stirling pointed the taser at him, an officer-involved shooting occurred. You are about to see relevant body-worn camera footage of the interaction between the Newport Beach Police Department officer and Mr. Stirling. Body-worn cameras are worn at chest level by officers in the patrol division and provide a general perspective from that viewpoint. Due to the camera's positioning, viewers may not see everything the officer sees and experiences. Factors such as lighting, movement, and distance can impact clarity and quality of the footage. In addition, each patrol vehicle is equipped with a secondary camera mounted on the front windshield, which is synced with the officer's body-worn camera. The following is dash camera and body-worn camera footage that is directly related to the incident previously described. Some of the content you're about to see may be disturbing and is not suitable for children and sensitive viewers. When an officer uses force, whether during an arrest or in defense against an attack, the footage can be graphic, including strong language, and be emotionally difficult to watch.
The plate is 26 Foxtrot 7064. You okay?
Yes, I've been drinking all the fully sober. I'm just trying to stay safe. People have been almost hitting me all day, sir.
What's that?
People have been almost hitting me all day. I'm trying to
Okay. You want to come over here and just take a seat right here?
No, I don't want to sit
Okay.
right
Just
there.
I'm telling you, take a seat right here. Come here.
I don't care if you're telling me what you're telling me to do.
2-6. I'll take a kill one. Sit down, dude. Stop. Stop. Come here. Get off the bike.
No.
Sit down.
No.
Sit down, dude.
I don't wanna
Come
sit
here.
down. I don't want to sit down or come here. No.
2-6. He's uncooperative. Come here, dude. Sit down. Don't get back on your bike. Don't get back on your bike. Sit down.
Tired of you guys harassing me,
Dude, you ran a red light. Just sit down and we'll figure it out, okay? Salgil, what's your name? What's your name?
Here, I'll show you my ID. I'm here. Don't shoot me.
I'm not gonna shoot you. Don't reach for fucking shit. How about that? Sit down, dude. We'll figure it out.
I don't want to sit down.
Okay, well, you're gonna sit down.
No, I don't want to sit down.
You're being detained right now. You're not free to leave. You're not free to get back on your bike. You're gonna sit down for me.
I have an ID. Can I get my ID?
No, just sit down over here.
I don't want to sit down over there. I don't have an ID.
Okay,
and I don't want to
sit down, dude.
No,
You ran the red light. You're
No.
pissing yourself.
no. I don't want to sit down over there.
2-6, just have them set it up.
Change your ears there, huh? Change your ears there?
Stop it!
Seconds after the officer-involved shooting, additional officers arrived on scene and formulated a plan to take Mr. Stirling into custody and begin administering medical aid. A few minutes after the shooting, the Newport Beach Fire Department arrived on scene and took over medical treatment. Mr. Stirling was transported to a nearby hospital where he passed away. The officer was later treated and released from a local hospital for injuries sustained during the incident. It is important to note that there was a civilian police employee on a ride-along at the time of this incident who remained in the vehicle and uninvolved.
As with all officer-involved shootings, an independent agency, in this case the California Department of Justice, will conduct their own independent investigation of the officer-involved shooting. Thank you for taking the time to view this critical incident community briefing.
All right, so this one is a bit of an older video. I've watched it before already on one of the other channels out there that shows shootings. Just busy life, busy schedule, just haven't had time to get to it. Actually, I forgot about this one. And I was doing a video for another incident, and it was in the suggested video queue. And so I thought, oh yeah, I remember that. So the guy, the suspect here, there is a size difference between him and the officer. This guy is older. I'd imagine he's probably a lot older than the officer. Officer's probably in his late 20s, early 30s, probably something like that. But you can see in the dash cam footage, see if I can get this to the right spot. Oh, let's back it up. So from this angle, it's hard to tell, but the officer is a little bit smaller than the suspect. And let me see if I can. Well, I don't know, because I can get a good freeze frame of them kind of being right next to each other. But when you watch the video, you can just kind of tell that suspect's bigger than the officer. And so I do think that has a factor into when some of these people decide to attack officers. I think that sizing comes into play. Right there it was. So yeah, even though he's hunched down a little bit, but he gets right there, you can just tell the suspect's taller. And I think he's just a little bit bigger as well. Like I said, I think size really has a lot, not everything, but I think it has a lot to do with it. I mean, just think about, why do bars and nightclubs historically hire really big guys? Because people are intimidated by big people. They don't want to mess with them, for the most part. Not saying that's for everyone, because you'd be surprised about how many little freaking munchkins out there get a wild hair up their ass and decide, you know what, I think I'm going to take this 6'7" guy. But I think it has a significant role in a lot of these things. Even going back to Ferguson, Missouri, the suspect in that case, the Michael Brown, I think his name was, with that officer. So if you ever looked at videos of that officer having an interview, he was just a smaller guy. He was kind of petite, and I think that coupled with probably his demeanor and the way he was talking, had a role in Brown charging at and attacking that officer. I think that in that Ferguson case, he felt that he could take him, and so the size of a person, I think, has a lot to do with it, and then their body language and their demeanors. And so some people just have this sense about them, this image or aura on them, that it just is like a big neon sign that says, "Don't fuck with me." And it don't even have to be big people that can project this. I mean, it could be smaller people. There's just some people that when you look at them, it's just an automatic, no, don't want to mess with them. And it's all in how you carry yourself, the way you look, your body language, and your voice, your eyes. I mean, it's just a lot goes into that. And so you can be a really large person, but if you don't carry yourself a certain way, you don't speak a certain way, you're not going to project that command presence. You're not going to project that image of, "Don't fuck with me." So I think this officer's size has something to do with it, and I think a little bit of his body language and the way he's talking. So he's wanting to assert himself. Sit down, dude. He tells him to sit down, and he starts saying, "Dude." And then he starts to go into, "Well, what's your name? We're going to figure this out." So I think that he starts off with an authoritative stance. "Sit down." "No, you're going to sit down." And then when the guy doesn't comply, he doubles down and goes into a little bit more soft mode. So his stature, his size, and then how he's projecting himself, at least from how we can hear him on the camera, I think played into why this dude felt that he was going to attack the officer. Now, obviously, we cannot see from the suspect's point of view what this officer looks like. We can't see his facial expressions, his eyes, stuff like that. So it's anyone's guess what the suspect was seeing and how he perceived him to be acting. But the moment this officer turned his head, for whatever stupid reason, I don't know why, he did that. And let's replay that portion. So look down here at the bottom screen. As soon as he turns, this guy takes a step forward. And then he turns his whole body to get on the radio. And this guy, he pounces. Classic predatory behavior. So watch this. He's going to turn his head. Oh, I went too far. Not far enough. Alright, so he's going to turn his head briefly. And then boom, he takes a step forward. He is. So at this moment, with the hands up, he is feigning compliance. He is going along and pretending to be a compliant person, but he is calculating. He is in his head thinking about how he's going to win this, how he's going to fight. And when this officer turns his head, he takes a step forward. That is a clear sign of intent to become combative. And then, of course, the movement towards him is a clear-cut sign that he is meaning to be combative. Now, when the officer turns around to see him, the guy stops, and then he throws those arms up again, like, oh. Well, I like the response from the officer. He's like, no, you made that aggressive, hostile movement, it's on. Because the guy was, again, faking compliance. He was stopping and throwing those hands up, pretending that, oh, no, nothing's going on. And he would just be waiting for another moment for that officer to give him another opportunity to attack. So the predatory behavior. Predators attack when they have the element of surprise, when the prey is not watching. You can see this when you watch the Animal Planet or Discovery Channel, and you're watching predators, right? You're watching cats. They look for the prey who's not paying attention, the ones who are not looking at them, and they will start to stalk, and then pounce. Other predators, you see this with as well, and with humans, it's the same thing. Humans will pick out those who are not paying attention. And they'll look around and see that that's the one that's not paying attention. That's the one they're going to go after. There's no one else looking at them that's going to catch them and get the drop on them. And they start to inch forward. They start to move towards their prey. And then they keep looking around, and then they pounce. It is very rare for a predator, a human, to attack face to face. Just full onslaught. We're doing this. You're watching me as I'm coming to you. It happens, but it's not as prevalent as the sneaky attack shit, right? Like waiting for someone to avert their eyes and be looking somewhere else to come at them. And this, I don't know what it is about why people in officers in scenarios like this are always like turning their head and looking behind the car. Like, stop fucking looking around. I get it. Keeping your head on a swivel, you want to maintain that situational awareness. But when someone is acting like that, turning your head completely and then trying to talk on the radio does you no good. Especially after you notice that when you've turned your head and that person has stepped forward. That is a clear sign of intent that they mean harm. Just because they got their hands up and they're talking somewhat peacefully, it does not mean that their mind is peaceful. Their mind is violent. So they get into the physical altercation, and as the camera zooms in, let's see if I can get this to freeze frame just right. Well, there we go. So you can see his shoulder mic has come loose. It's dangling down there at his feet. All right. Back this up. I'm going to hit 5 seconds and then just watch it again. Just watch around his legs. You're going to see his shoulder mic swinging around. And then he gets out here and you see it still swinging around. So the shoulder mics are designed in a way that they work great for static kind of work, but anything dynamic, they don't always work very great because they just come off too easily. And this is, I think, why some people, some places, just don't like using them. And I've heard before, shoulder mics, they always fall off. Don't use one. And I think in some places that has become the culture, right? Like it's like, look at like LAPD and NYPD. Like you hardly ever see any of them ever using shoulder mics. And there's just like I said, I think it's a culture thing where it's become such an ingrained thing where the people who become the sergeants or the FTOs or whatever, they ingrained the people under them don't use shoulder mics, and then those people, when they came up into positions, they just passed down that same kind of thing. Now, with those places, it could also be a budget thing, a money thing. They just may not be able to afford shoulder mics for everyone. But even in smaller places, you can see people who just they're opposed to using shoulder mics. And I think that like I said, I think that some of it comes from that mindset of they fall off too easily. And like I said, they can fall off extremely easily. But I think that they are a necessary accessory for a radio, for public safety work. It allows you to be able to reach up, hit the microphone, talk, and then let go, and still retain that radio on your body. So when he was turned around, he was talking on his mic. What if he had the actual radio in his hand because he did not have a shoulder mic? What if he had that radio in his hand and then that dude attacked? Well, he would have to go through that fine motor skill movement of putting that radio away back into its pouch, or if it had a swivel mount, trying to invert it, put it into that mount, and then rocking it into position. This happened very quickly. Would he have been able to efficiently stow that radio away back into its spot and engage in this fight? Probably not. He would probably lose the radio and it would hit the ground. And then, because they started back here and it moved all the way over here, he would be a considerable distance away from that radio and would not be able to talk onto it. What if, when this attack happened, and he said, step it up or whatever, and then the radio became dislodged from his hand and there was no other radio communication? What if it happened before he said step it up? How much longer does dispatch wait to do a radio check? Are they waiting 5 minutes? Are they waiting 10 minutes? Each dispatch center varies on their policies on when they do a status check. But, let's say it's 5 minutes. Five minutes is a long time. It's a lifetime. So if he had that radio in his hand, trying to talk into it, fight happens, it hits the ground, he's not able to hit the emergency button, say fight in progress, whatever, send more units, step it up, not able to say anything, drops the radio, gets into a fight. It could be 5 minutes before dispatch keys the radio up and says, blah, 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 status check. Blah, 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 status check. And then start calling the phone, and then other units be like, hey, answer your radio. Oh, he's not answering. Let's dispatch, where's he at? And then start heading to him. So, after 5 minutes, dispatch is hollering at you, and then about another half minute to a minute, people are like, well, he ain't answering his radio. Let's start heading towards him. Where's he at? What's the drive time there? So that ordeal ends up being more than just 5 minutes, right? What if it takes a minute or two for someone to get there to him? Now that's 7 minutes, 8 minutes. Now it's 10 minutes before someone's getting there to him. So that is why I think shoulder mics are such a crucial, necessary life safety piece of equipment for a portable radio. It allows you to keep that portable radio retained on your body, in its pouch, where it's not coming off of you. But the shoulder mic itself, because that little clip is so small, it just pops off really easily. There's a product out there called Mic Loop, and it is something that I recommend to people. They have a product for if you wear a vest under your uniform shirt. It attaches to your vest via Velcro and has a very long, basically paracord, has a very long loop on it that can come out of your uniform shirt, and you can loop that shoulder mic into it. It's basically being girth hitched onto it, and you clip the mic onto your uniform shirt like you normally would. You can hit it, and that thing will pop loose, but the microphone itself will stay in that same little region where it was clipped at, because that's where the paracord piece is coming out of the uniform shirt, being girth hitched to the microphone itself and keeping it in that same spot, so to speak. If you have an external vest, there are products from that company that is the same concept, but the loop is obviously a lot shorter because you're not having to snake it upwards out of the uniform shirt, and it can go in between the vest and any long panel patches. You have like a big panel patch on the front of your vest that says police or sheriff or whatever. That piece goes in behind that panel and is anchored in with a Velcro. It has a little loop that you just pass the shoulder mic through. And again, even if the microphone kind of becomes a little bit dislodged off of a thing, it's still going to stay retained within that area. You can also do this by building your own sort of retention device. A lot of people will use hair ties. I don't recommend using hair ties because they can break pretty easily. I recommend buying shock cord. Get shock cord, or you can gut some 550 cord if you want, but I think shock cord's a little bit better because it has the elasticity to it. Buy that shock cord, and then you can, for example, if you have a uniform style outer carrier vest, you could take that shock cord and tie yourself a loop, and then affix that loop to one of the shoulder epaulets of the uniform carrier, and you can take your shoulder mic, bring it up to the loop, stretch that loop outwards to pass it through, let go, and it constricts. And then when you try to pull on the shoulder mic, it's going to stay within that loop. And then you can clip it to your shoulder epaulette as normal. That shock cord assembly thing is kind of behind the whole shoulder mic, remains concealed. It's not very obvious, but you can see a little bit of a loop around the cord and the shoulder mic body housing itself. Can't do anything about that visibility of it, but it's not as widely visible and everything. And then if you pop that shoulder mic loose off that epaulette, that shock cord that is tied to it is going to keep that microphone up there in that same little spot. It's not going to fall down and dangle around your ankles. So you can either buy a product that will fix this issue, or you can roll your own, so to speak, do a DIY. Those are good workarounds with the problem of a shoulder mic falling off. If you have a newer radio design that will accommodate a Bluetooth microphone, then I would recommend that as well. Those are pretty cool designs. So you take your portable radio, and where you would attach the shoulder mic to it on the side with the pins, you just attach this Bluetooth receiver to it, and you put the radio in your pouch. It stays on your pouch, stays on your belt, and then the Bluetooth hand mic, it looks like a shoulder mic piece, but there's no cord attached to it, right? And you can place that thing anywhere. And if you've got an outer vest with MOLLE on it, you can push that tab or that clip piece down into the MOLLE and anchor that thing in, and it's not going anywhere. Same thing with using the mic loop kind of stuff. You can use those things to anchor this device in so that when you hit it, it's not going flying off of your body and hitting somewhere else. It's going to dangle in place, so to speak, with that shock cord or that paracord attached to it. It's going to stay in that same little area that you put it at. So yeah, there's some good workarounds with solving the issue of shoulder mics falling off and dangling on the ground. So he gets the officer's taser at some point during this struggle and points it up the officer's head and then points it at him. And then the officer reacts to that. So a taser is a less than lethal device, right? You can shoot someone with a taser and pull that trigger 10 times on them, give them 10 cycles of a taser ride, and they're going to be fine. They're going to live. They're going to be able to walk away from that, right? It's a less than lethal device. However, when you point it at someone's head, someone's face, even Axon, the company itself, says, do not aim this thing at people's heads. With the exception of unless it's a deadly force scenario that you would be authorized to use deadly physical force, then you can obviously target a person's head with the taser. But even then, doing a cycle of a taser to someone's head, that in of itself is not going to kill them. The issue that comes into play with tasers and heads is the probes, right? The darts. You pop a dart in an eyeball, they're done. I mean, just imagine a fish hook going into your freaking eye. It would be catastrophic. So that is one of the biggest reasons why we don't point tasers at people's faces, because the probes can permanently blind someone for the rest of their life. If you took the alligator clips and you put one clip on one earlobe and one clip on the other earlobe, and you gave someone a 5-second ride, yeah, that's going to rock their world. They might not be able to get up and walk away right afterwards, but I guarantee you 5 hours from that point that they'll be walking around just fine. But aside from the probes, causing catastrophic damage to the eyes, the other issue with a taser being used against an officer is it doing its job. It being able to achieve NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation, locking you up and rendering you incapable of controlling your own limbs. And so if a suspect is able to tase an officer and render them incapable of moving around, well, then that suspect can very easily close the gap, take their gun away from them, and then use their gun to murder them. Or pull their own gun and start shooting the officer, pull a knife and start stabbing the officer while the officer is sitting there locked up riding a taser ride. So people will argue and complain about officers shooting people when people grab their tasers. Well, it's a less lethal. It's just a taser. Okay, yeah, it is. It is a less lethal. But when the people are pointing it at your face and putting you at extreme risk of being blinded for the rest of your life by the probes going into it, or even the laser beam being shined into your eye, that can cause eye damage, right? But more importantly, the freaking probe itself, and taking a taser ride to the head, I cannot imagine the amount of pain that would, holy shit, man. I've gone through a couple of taser rides before in my life, and yeah, man, that 5 seconds sucks. It does. You feel it, and I just could I can't imagine taking one to the head. Normally, when you pop someone in the back with a taser, and 5 second expires, boom, you're able to get right back up and start going. I could not imagine that you would be able to get up and go right after taking one to the head. So even though you would not die from being tased in the head, I think it would incapacitate you. You would not be able to efficiently operate after that. And so, again, if you were incapacitated like that, the other person can do whatever they want to you while you're dazed and confused from taking a taser ride to the head. So 110% this officer is justified in using deadly physical force against this guy, even though this guy is holding a device that is not a lethal weapon. The weapon he's holding is capable of rendering the officer incapacitated. And then, what's this guy going to do once the officer's incapacitated? Is he just going to get on it, Best case scenario, he just gets back on his bike and takes off. Well, we can't just assume that everyone who becomes violent and assaults an officer is just going to leave it at that, as just a physical assault, and then just leave and just walk away and not do anything else. We have to assume that they're going to do the worst of the worst. They're going to finish the job, so to speak. They're going to come over there and take the gun and then shoot him in the head. So 110% this officer is justified in using deadly physical force against the guy holding a device that is known as a less lethal weapon. Unfortunately, there are some other places out there that there are people in positions of power who don't see it like this, and I cannot remember exactly where it was, but there was a case of an officer who was either had his taser taken away, or the guy was trying to take his taser, and he used deadly physical force, and they charged the officer. God, I wish I could remember where that was. Let me see if I can do a quick search. Officer charged with shooting man with taser. Let's see if that brings anything up. I can't. There's so many links I can't cipher through them all. But anyway, there was a place somewhere where prosecutors went after an officer for using force against a person who had either grabbed their taser or was grabbing for the taser, and that's just wrong. That is weaponization from the political side against police. That's woke prosecutors who have a disdain for police attacking police. That could be that's a whole nother rant in itself, so I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, 110% this officer is justified in using deadly physical force against this guy, even though this guy had just a less than lethal device. The ride along. So the ride along sat in the vehicle and watched all this unfold. Like, and they said it was a police employee. So it sounds like it's either like a dispatcher or a records clerk, or hell, it could even be like something like a cadet or something, or hell, it could have been a chaplain for all I know. But someone who's not a sworn officer was in the car that works for their police department. So that person is just sitting there watching all this unfold, and what are they doing? Right? Like, are they pressing the emergency button on the radio itself? Are they preparing themselves for a fight? So that's something that if you're going to have a ride along, that's something that you need to think about. What instructions are you giving your ride along? Which the basic stuff is, hey, stay back, like don't get in my way. Yeah, that's an obvious. But what about if the shit hits the fan? Are you telling that ride along, hey, if something happens, press this little orange button right here? You press that little orange button, cavalry's coming. And explain that. Like, this is the distress button. You press this button, it's going to make a loud noise, and everyone's going to start coming here. And when they get here, you need to be having your hands up, because you ain't got a badge on, you ain't uniformed. They may not even know who you are. And then some officers will tell the ride-alongs, hey, I've got a gun in this console here. I've got a gun right here. That's good information to have, but some don't. Some don't say that. And so what if this officer lost the fight? What if the suspect tased him in the head, rendered the officer incapacitated, went over there and curb stomped him, or pulled a knife out and stabbed him, or took the officer's gun and shot him, and then came back to the police cruiser, what do you think is going to happen to that ride along? They're probably going to die too. So I think that some good instructions to the ride along need to be given about what if worst case scenario happens. What if the officer becomes incapacitated and the suspect starts coming towards the car? Like, what are you doing at this point? So that is one reason why I don't like how agencies say a ride-along cannot have any weapons at all. Well, what if the officer who's there to keep them protected is dead? How the fuck are they going to protect that ride-along? Now the ride-along's going to sit in this car watching the killer come towards them? What are they going to do? Hit the door lock while this dude's got a gun? They're fish in a bucket. And so there need, like, ride-alongs need to be able to have the ability to defend themselves, whether that's allowing them to carry their own personal gun, pointing out to them where a gun's at in the car, or at least giving them a can of pepper spray as a last-ditch effort line of defense. If they're unable to egress, right? Like, obviously their first option could be to get the hell out of the car and just take off running. Do the Nike drill. Especially in urban environments like this, it could be very easy for the ride along to just beat feet, get the hell out of there. But if they're unable to quickly beat feet, or they're in an area where they're getting cornered, whatever, they need to be able to have the option to defend themselves. So, something to think about if you have ride-alongs coming with you, or if you're thinking about doing a ride-along. Like, figure out, like, ask questions like, hey, what if something happens to you? Like, what do I do? And again, if you're an officer or you're an administrator, what do you tell your ride-alongs? What do you tell them to do if something happens to that officer? And there's some places that just don't allow ride-alongs at all, and I understand that, like, because when you think about what happens to an officer, what's going to happen to the ride-along? The liability, in place. What happens when an officer starts to, pull someone over and it turns into a pursuit? Well, now you have this person who's they're getting a hell of a ride-along. But what happens when a crash occurs? Because when you think about what is one of the biggest killers for law enforcement officers, it's traffic accidents. Just crashing. I mean, yeah, we have a lot of officers who die in gunfights, but I think more officers die in car wrecks and stuff than they do gunfights. So, totally get why some places just do not allow ride-alongs whatsoever. But for those who do, like I said, you need to think about what happens if the officer goes down. What instructions have been given to the ride-along in that event. Alrighty, not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.